Hello and a warm welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be replacing this rubber Flexi brake hose. I'll show a little bit of B-roll now, but it has actually got a bump in it where it's gone internally, and you can actually squeeze that a little bit. So I'm going to have a go at replacing this. It should be a relatively straightforward job. The hardest thing I can see is undoing the brake union where it goes from the hard line to the Flexi. That could be your most challenging part. Fortunately, quite a few years ago, an MOT tester told me to put some grease on the brake pipes just to protect them, and there's still some remnants of that on there, and I think that's helped keep it rust free really, which is quite surprising for a Cavalier. You could do this on pretty much any car. The make and model of this car is totally irrelevant. This is my 1986 Vauxhall Cavalier. As I say, it should be similar for a majority of cars, whether they've got ABS systems or not. This doesn't have ABS. The only difference that would be is how much brake fluid you have to pump through the system to bleed the brakes after we've opened the system up. I'm using some Borg & Beck branded hoses. I quite like that brand. Not affiliated with them in any way, just I see them come up as an option, so that's what I went for. I can't remember the price of them now because I'm hopeless with prices and things. It was something I needed, and that was that. You shouldn't need too many parts or tools to do this job. It should be relatively straightforward. In my case, I need to use an 11mm ratchet, nut buster, whatever you want to call it, and a 10mm. I'm using a flare wrench here, or flare spanner, however you want to call that, to undo that. You can use an ordinary 10mm box end spanner, but I strongly recommend that you use a flare one like this. If you don't have any, buy some. So yeah, let's get straight into it. I forgot to say, the other parts you might need, or other tools, is potentially a blow lamp, some oil, and obviously something to light the blow lamp with. That will come clear later on, or a new set of copper washers, because this brake hoses don't actually come with a set of copper washers, and there should be two, one on each side of this fitting right here. So yeah, we're going to have a go at annealing them today, or the alternative is just to buy some new ones and just replace them. I like to reuse where I can, because stuff like that is, can be expensive when you buy a big thing like that. So yeah, let's get on with it, shall we? So the first thing I'm going to try and do is undo this union here. I forgot to say, you're going to need a 19mm spanner. Well, in my case I need a 19mm spanner. Yours may be different. So I'm just going to hold that off there. There is a clip that I can undo here to take this pipe off, but I should worry about that in a minute. Something worthy of note as well, it's worth having a drip tray, which I totally forgot, underneath where you're working, so I'm going to put some rag down instead. So let's see if we can break this off. This don't look too bad at all. Famous last words, eh? But we are working in a very confined area, so excuse the hands and everything being in the way. Oh, there we go. Once that's broken loose, the one thing that you need to make sure is that the brake pipe itself isn't actually turning in that little union there. So in this case, we're good to go. An idea would be just to give it a good spray with some WD-40 or penetrating fluid, something like that. And I can't get this back on now. Just to make sure it sinks in. Or alternatively, just wiggle it like that from side to side until the union breaks away from the pipe. In this case, though, we're all good. They're moving as separate units. So now that that's broken off, we don't need the 19mm anymore. And we should be able just to simply move this clip. That should just pull off, hopefully. Yep. Ooh. Bang, straight in your face. Apologies for that. So, one clip. It's like a little spring clip. That just sits in there. That should now come loose off of there. So I'll put that somewhere where we can lose it later on. Whilst I'm in the process of, yeah, let's get that loosened off a bit more, shall we? As you can see, that's coming undone there very nicely. Next, let's undo this 11mm banjo bolt in my case. I'm hoping this ain't going to be too angry with me. No, that was really easy actually. Right, let's get that undone. This is where you want to save your copper washers here. So it just needed a bit of persuasion there. That should just drop out of there. There we go. There's our two old copper washers. As you can see, you can clearly see they've been used. You probably get away with turning them around, to be fair, but I'm going to have a go at annealing these, which I'll show you next. So to anneal copper washers, all you're doing is you're re-softening these so you can basically so they conform to the shape of what they're being compressed against. All you're going to need is a blowtorch, something to hold the washers on, and in this case I'm using this bit of wire, obviously to fit into your jar of, this is just a standard old engine oil that I'm using here. So you get these, so they're cherry red. My sort of understanding of cherry red is the real dark cherries that you could buy, the real like dark red ones. They haven't got to be absolutely red hot, so they're absolutely glowing, just so they're on the turn. That's my understanding anyway. So let's see if we could get this lit. No, lighter doesn't want to work. There we go. Right, it's got a nice flame there. Can you see that? Cool. You can. Let's bring that in shot. So let's get this nice and hot. Shouldn't take a lot. Don't need shouldn't need too high of a heat. If you get them too hot, they will melt and totally get misshapen. So there is a lot of old brake fluid on here. There, you can just about see they're just starting to turn red, so in they go. Bit of smoke there. And they should be nicely annealed and ready for us to use. Right, so there's our new brake hose, banjo bolt, and our 2 copper washers cleaned up. So 1 copper washer goes on one side of the banjo bolt, goes on, and then the other side meets up with the caliper like so. Let's get this fitted to the car. It might be a good idea to give that a little bit of a wipe. Make sure that's all free. I've got no rubbish in there. Okay, good. I don't actually have any torque specs for these, purely because I totally and utterly forgot to look it up, but they weren't particularly tight to begin with. So let's tighten them up enough where we think it's right. I mean, that's not very tight, but it should be tight enough. This is obviously the way the bolt works. It's obviously got a hole in the side with a hole in the centre to allow the fluid through, so they can't take a lot of torque anyway. So now it's a case of simply putting our brake pipe up. You can't actually see it, but well, you can see it on here, but I couldn't see it in the hole, but I could feel it. There is actually a flat spot, so unless if you get that flat spot right, it won't go all the way through. Ideally, I would have cleaned those threads up with some WD-40 before I pull it back in, but unfortunately I forgot to bring any down with me. Again, this doesn't need to be very tight, just enough so it doesn't leak, that's all. So that's that installed. All we need to do now is just bleed the brakes. I'm not going to cover that in this video because I've already got a video that I done last year, how I bleed the brakes on this car. It's actually a brake fluid replacement. However, it's basically the same thing. but I won't cut it out completely. I'll put you on time lapse for that. So yeah, we'll start off on the driver's side front. So that's all four corners bled now. Now is the moment of truth to see if we've got a nice solid firm pedal. Feels pretty good. I'm going to give it a couple of really hard pushes just to make sure there's no leaks, particularly on the front where we've disturbed the whole system really, apart from the rear brakes. It's only the bleeders, so just to make sure there's nothing leaking. Ideally I should have brought down some brake cleaner. Despite that, I made a list, totally and utterly forgot to add it to the list to remind me to bring it. Feels good though. Resting my foot on the brake for like a minute or two, can't feel any sinkage, which can indicate a leak. Yeah, I'm quite happy with that. Let's go and have a look. So starting on the passenger side, all looks pretty good there at the moment. Only where I've wiped off the excess, this is where the brake cleaner would come in handy. Let's have a look here. Again, I can't see anything, only the residue where I made a mess earlier. Again, brake cleaner should have been employed at this point, but there you go. I'm going to have to clean that up next time I come down here. I'm not at my usual place, as you could probably tell, because there's no trains going by. Same again on the driver's side, apart from a bit of residue there. All looks pretty good. I'm happy with that. Near side rear looks pretty good. Can't say the same for the cylinder though, it looks a bit rusty, but the offside, strangely, is okay. Speaking of which, all looks good here as well. So yeah, that looks pretty promising. Again, I wish I'd bought some blooming brake cleaner. I'll cuss myself for that. As we have time for today, that's the brake hose is now replaced. The car is now finally ready for its MOT, so fingers crossed that will pass. I've still got to book it in yet. So yeah, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again in another video. Off we go!